Hey! Welcome to Amish Universe. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the world famous Amish Universe slash top, as seen on Queen icon legend Sydney Carlson, as well as dozens of other epic girlies around the globe. This top is my only claim to fame. If you want to learn how to make this top for yourself, all you gotta do is keep on watching, cause I'm gonna show you. Okay, hey, these are all the ingredients you'll need to make your Amish Universe slash top. So you're going to need some yarn, a crochet hook, measuring tape, and scissors. Me personally, I am using weight 4 acrylic yarn and a 5mm crochet hook. If you want to get the classic Amish look that is similar to all the tops on my Instagram, then I recommend using ingredients with these specifications as well. However, if you want to use a different type of yarn, a different, thicker, thinner, different material, that's totally fine and you can still follow along to this tutorial, so feel free to do that as well. So here's an overview of the design. It's essentially a tube with a halter panel attached to the top and some straps that tie behind your neck. We also have some ties in the back which allow the waist to be adjustable. This makes it really easy to take on and off, or to make the top tighter or looser depending on how you're feeling that day. And we're going to begin by making this top from the bottom up. So we're going to start by making a chain that wraps around the width of your waist, and that corresponds to the part of the top that I am inappropriately fondling right here. To begin constructing your Amish top, you're going to start by taking a loose measurement of your waist. I wouldn't recommend taking a super tight measurement. Just wrap the tape measure around your belly button and see what it says. On this particular morning, my tape measure got up and whispered in my ear and said I had a 29-inch waist. So that is the size top that I'm going to be making today. But do not worry if you are not a size 29 as well. In this tutorial, I show you how to make a top to your specific size and body, so anyone in the world can follow along. Don't worry. Now that you've measured your waist, you're ready to make that base chain, and I'm going to say the first important thing that I've said all day, which is that your base chain should stretch to the width of your waist. It should not be the width of your waist, because crochet and yarn stretches out, so as you work on the chain, it's going to get baggier, and by the end of your project, it's going to be a lot looser around your waist than you intended. So if you start by making the base chain a little bit smaller than your waist, it's going to stretch as you work on it and end up fitting perfectly. So here I'm chaining and checking against the tape measure to see what length the chain stretches to. Once it's able to comfortably stretch to 29 inches, then I know I'm good, my base chain is good, and I'm ready to start the real crocheting. The real crochet of this project consists of double crochet. That's what we're going to be using for the rest of the top. And I'd like to take this moment to remind everyone about the anatomy of a slash top. It is a tube with a diagonal slash across the middle. So what we're going to do is make our first row of double crochets like normal until it is time to make that first slash. And you may be asking yourself, how do I know when it's time to make the first slash? And to that I say you must consult with your own measurements and your own body, because it's going to depend. So what I like to do is double crochet like normal until I have about 5 inches of chain left over on the left hand side here. And then I go ahead and I try it on, I wrap it around my waist, and I see, okay, if there was a slash right here, if the slash was about this big, how would it look? Is this a good place to start my diagonal? And I just kind of mess around with it. I might add a crochet, I might delete a crochet, depending on what it's looking like, and go from there. So that's what you're going to need to do. Try it on. Imagine, is the slash top going to look good if I start the slash from this point? Is it not? What do I need to adjust? Now that you've determined where you want to make your first slash, all you need to do is start chaining, and that's all that the slash is. So in the classic Amish Universe slash top, the slash is 9 chains wide. That's what I'm doing here. If you want to make the top less revealing, you could do less chains. I've done 5 or 6 before and it looks great. If you want to make it more revealing, you could also do more than 9 chains. It's up to you. Now that your slash is as long as you want it to be, it's time to resume double crocheting. In order to do this, you need to reattach the slash back to the base chain. So I do this by first just counting the base chain and counting 9 over, since that's how long I made my slash. And once I get to the 10th little chain, I do a little beep boop bop boop and stretch it out a little bit to mark it for myself. And then do this maneuver and reinsert my hook in order to do a double crochet, which I honestly horribly fumble. It's delightful to watch, so just watch. Yeah, that's good job, girl. Almost there. Yeah, cool, finally. So that's our first double crochet post slash, and then all you have to do is finish out that whole row doing the regular double crochets. Once that's done, it's time to try on your little sliver scrap of fabric again. Just hold the piece behind your back, hold the two ends behind your back, and make sure that they are centered so that you can really get a good idea of where the slash is going to lie, and check if it's in a good spot to create that diagonal down the center of your torso. If it's not, now is the time to adjust before you are in too deep. If it looks good to you, then you're going to turn your work and start doing double crochets again like normal until you get to the slash area, because right around there we're going to have to start doing special things. Once you get to this point, it's important to keep the crucial component of a slash top in mind once more, and that is the fact that it is a diagonal. So in order to create this diagonal, with each row that you progress in the top, you're going to have to be moving the slash over by a certain increment in order to create that design. So I like to move each slash over by increments of 2 stitches. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets on top of the slash in row 1, and then I'm going to begin the chaining for my row 2 slash, and I'm just going to chain 9 stitches like normal, and then I'm going to reattach the row 2 slash to row 1, doing the normal double crochet maneuver, and I'm just going to make sure that I do this 2 stitches over from where slash 1 ends so that we are creating that diagonal. And I know that verbally everything I just said made absolutely no sense, but hopefully you can see what we're working towards here. The diagonal is already apparent, so we're just shifting everything over as we go to row 2, row 3, row 4, etc., in order to create that pattern. This is what your work should look like after finishing up row 2. At this point you can turn your work and start doing double crochets down row 3, and you'll just do them like normal until you get to the slash area, because once again we have to do something special and it's different than what we did for row 2. You'll recall that we've been turning our work, and because of that we need to make a slight adjustment for row 3. So for row 2 we moved our slash 2 stitches to the left, but because we turned our work over to start row 3, now we're going to be moving our slash 2 stitches to the right in order to maintain that diagonal pattern. I'm going to begin slash 3, 2 stitches to the right of where slash 2 ended, and then I'm going to chain a 9 like normal, and I'm going to reattach that chain 2 stitches to the right of where slash 2 started. Once again, I know these are incredibly confusing instructions, but I'm hoping that you can see the diagonal forming, and just keep in mind when you're flip-flopping your work what direction your diagonal is moving in, and make sure that you are following it so that you aren't doing a zigzag by accident and you're keeping it all in one direction. Once slash 3 is good to go, you can finish out row 3 by doing regular old double crochets to the end of the row. And then you're going to repeat the process that we just did for rows 2 and 3 a few more times. I like to repeat the process that we just did for 8 rows total, so once I complete my 8th row, then it's time to stop working on a flat panel, and we're going to connect the 2 sides of the panel in order to start working in a tube. In order to create the tube, we're going to connect the top right corner of the panel to the top left corner of the panel, and I do this just by inserting my hook into the loops on each of the corners and then yarning over and pulling through. After you do this, every stitch that you make moving forward and all the double crochets and all the slashes that you do will be in the round, will be in the tube form, so you can just keep crocheting in a circle. And we're going to leave the area below where we just connected open. We're not going to connect that because later we're going to use that to create the lace up, so don't worry about that for now. So after you've connected your 2 sides, just start double crocheting. You can just chain up 3 on the connection stitch and then start double crocheting from there, and just keep doing that until you get around to the slash area. You'll be pleased to know that doing slashes in the tube form is a little bit easier than doing them in the flat panel because we're not flip-flopping our work every time, we're just staying in the same direction, so it's simpler to keep track of. To start this slash, I just followed the same method that we've been doing the whole time for the previous rows, which was starting the slash 2 stitches over from where the previous slash ended, chaining 9, reattaching it to the piece with a double crochet, and then continuing to double crochet. Now that we're not in the panel anymore, you're not going to double crochet to the end of the panel since we don't have that. You're just going to keep double crocheting all the way around the work in the circle until you get right back to where the slashes are. And then once you get to the slash area, you need to make the slash, and then you continue double crocheting again, go around until you get to the slash area, make another slash, etc, etc, etc. So you'll just keep moving in the tube until it looks like this. My tube top contains a total of 17 rows. This was a good place for me to stop because the diagonal looks complete and the top was a length that I liked. Depending on your personal measurements and how big you made your slashes, you might want to do more or less than 17 rows, so just try it on and go from there. Because we are working in the round, there's going to be this awkward and abrupt edge once you stop making new rows. In order to clean this up and blend it in with the work, I'm going to stop doing double crochets and start doing single crochets, and I just do single crochets all the way until I get to the middle of the back of the work, and this really blends the edge in so that it all just looks like one continuous tube and you can't tell where some weird abrupt ending is. To officially finish off my tube, I just cut the yarn and then yarned over, pulled the string through, and tied it in a knot. Alright, now it's time to begin the halter panel. So we're just going to attach the halter panel to the front of the tube top, and we're not going to be working in the round anymore. I like to start my halter panel 2 stitches to the right of where the last slash ended. So I'm just inserting my hook here 2 stitches over and then beginning a line of double crochets. I continue this line of double crochets until I get to the left side of the front of the tube, and at this point I just eyeball it and try to count the stitches on each side and see if this is a good base for the halter panel. Is it centered? Is it where I want it to be? And of course I try it on to check. Once the first row of your halter panel looks good, all you have to do is turn your work and start making the second row and then several more rows after that. I ended up adding 12 rows for the halter panel alone. If I were to do this again, I'd probably only do 10 rows. I think 12 was actually a little bit too long, but I'd say just keep adding rows until you try it on and it looks like a good length to make this mock neck turtleneck situation. Okay, now it's time to add the strap. So we're going to be making 2 ties that tie behind your neck and that holds the top up. These are going to be attached to the top left and top right corner of the halter panel. So begin by turning your work sideways, and then you're just going to insert 2 double crochets into the top corner stitch on one of the sides. So here I just inserted 2 double crochets into the same stitch side by side, and then I just flip my work and keep adding more double crochets next to each other and stacking them up until I felt like this was a good length for a strap that could comfortably tie behind my neck. To begin the lace up, you're going to need a lot of yarn. I pulled and cut about 24 inches worth, and then I started lacing it through the slit in the back. Make sure that you line up the string so that it's even on both sides, and then just start zigzagging it through the slit. I like to skip rows through the zigzags and then just lace it up like how you would a shoe, and keep going till you get to the bottom of the top, and you should have a lot of string left over after you lace it so that you can tie that around your waist or just tie it in a little bow tie or something, and then you are literally done. So thank God this tutorial is over. Yay!